Every street tells a story, but some stories stay hidden. Hip-hop legends, mobster tales, political secrets, they're all here, waiting in the shadows. This is where the real stories live. Welcome to the Crime Shop.
Caswell Sr., the man the world would come to know as Casanova, was born into a world that was far from gentle. His first breath was taken in Flatbush, Brooklyn, a neighborhood in New York City with a pulse all its own. This was a place of vibrant cultures and tight-knit communities, yet marked by hardship. The streets offered opportunity and danger, shaping life paths beyond a child's control. His childhood was fractured. Born to a mother of Panamanian descent and a father of Honduran heritage. His father was incarcerated for most of his early years, leaving a void. Young Caswell was moved around, living in different homes and foster care situations. A boy, searching for belonging, for a permanent family unit, a search that would lead him down a perilous road. Life in the PJs brought its own rules and lessons. Survival was a daily curriculum. Without a steady father, older street figures filled the role. The seeds of his future were sown. A young man at a crossroads, society's path, while the streets presented another. This Brooklyn beginning was the prologue to a larger, more complicated, ultimately tragic story. The boy from Flatbush was on a collision course with destiny. As a teenager adrift in the complex social currents of Brooklyn, Caswell Sr. found the family he had been searching for. This family, however, was not bound by blood, but by a code and a color: red. He became involved with the Bloods, one of New York City's most notorious street gangs. Specifically, he found his place within a powerful subset known as the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. For a young man who had felt powerless and overlooked, the gang offered an intoxicating sense of identity and strength. It provided a structure, a hierarchy, and a set of rules that, while violent, were clear and consistent. Joining the Gorilla Stone Nation was not a casual decision. It was a total immersion into a different way of life. It meant adopting a new set of loyalties that superseded all others. The gang became his protector, his provider, and his purpose. In return, it demanded absolute allegiance. This environment forged bonds between members through shared risks and a collective us-against-the-world mentality. For Caswell, this was the belonging he had craved. He was no longer just a kid from the projects. He was part of something bigger, something feared and respected on the streets. The activities of the gang were woven into the fabric of daily existence. Authorities would later claim their operations included drug trafficking and robbery, enterprises that fueled the gang's power and influence. The violence was not random. It was a tool used to maintain order, settle disputes, and project an image of dominance. This period left an indelible mark on Caswell, teaching him brutal street economics and a violent code of honor. He rose through the ranks, his reputation growing with each passing year. But this life came at a high cost, putting him in constant conflict with rival gangs and law enforcement. The red flag he flew was a banner he could never truly put down. After serving a lengthy prison sentence for robbery, Caswell Sr. emerged a changed man, but the streets were still in his blood. He needed a new path, a legal way to channel the energy and ambition that had once fueled his gang activities. A friend, a fellow Brooklyn native and rapper named Mano, encouraged him to try his hand at music. Initially hesitant, Caswell discovered he had a raw, untapped talent for storytelling. The recording booth became his new corner and the microphone became his new weapon. He adopted the stage name Casanova, a moniker that projected smooth confidence contrasting with his gritty past. The transition from street enforcer to musical artist had begun. Casanova's music was an immediate reflection of his life. It was not filled with fantasies, raw, authentic, unapologetically real. His breakout single, Don't Run, released in 2016, was a sonic explosion that captured the rap world's attention. The song was aggressive, energetic, and carried the menacing weight of his street credibility. Listeners could feel the authenticity. He wasn't just rapping about a dangerous lifestyle, he was narrating his own biography. This honesty resonated deeply with an audience hungry for artists who truly lived the lives they depicted. His voice, raspy, commanding, became a signature of this new wave of street rap. His rise was meteoric. He signed a major record deal with Roc Nation, Jay-Z's label. This lifted him from his world and placed him onto the global stage. He collaborated with hip-hop heavyweights like Chris Brown, A Boogie Wit Da Hoodie, Cardi B. His songs became anthems, his signature ad-lib boom 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 echoing across the city. For a moment it seemed like a true success story. The kid from foster homes and prison yards had made it. He was a star, with all the money, fame, and adoration that came with it. Yet, even as his star ascended, the shadows of his past clung to him. The very authenticity that made him famous was also making him a target. On December 1, 2020, the music world was stunned. The FBI announced a sweeping indictment against 18 alleged members of the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. The name at the top of many news reports was Casanova Sr. The federal charges were severe and painted a picture of a criminal organization. Casanova, initially evading capture, eventually surrendered to federal authorities. The man who had rapped about running from the police was now in their custody. He faced a legal battle that threatened to end his career and his freedom. The transition from rap star back to federal defendant was swift and brutal. The charges laid out by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York were extensive. Casanova was accused of racketeering conspiracy, a charge often used to prosecute organized crime. He was also charged with firearm possession and conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. The government alleged drug trafficking across New York and said Casanova played a key role. These were serious federal crimes carrying the potential for decades in prison. Among the most serious allegations was a connection to a July 2020 shooting in Florida. They also tied him to a robbery in New York City, where a victim was assaulted and robbed for jewelry. Those acts were presented as evidence of the gang's brutal methods and Casanova's direct participation. The authorities used his music videos and social media posts as evidence. The federal case positioned Casanova not as a musician with a gang past, but as an active, high-ranking leader of a dangerous criminal enterprise. The very authenticity that made him famous was also making him a target. The legal proceedings against Casanova were a slow and grueling process, playing out over many months. The courtroom became the new stage for his life's drama, but here, the script was written by prosecutors and defense attorneys. A key turning point came from within his own circle. Several co-defendants, fellow Gorilla Stone Nation members, chose to cooperate with the government. They accepted plea deals in exchange for lighter sentences and had to testify against former associates, including Casanova. This is often the most powerful tool prosecutors have in organized crime cases, turning members of a loyal group against each other. The witness testimonies were devastating to Casanova's defense. Former allies took the stand and painted a detailed picture of the gang's inner workings. They described Casanova's alleged role not as a passive member, but as an influential leader who gave orders and participated in criminal acts. One witness specifically testified about the 2020 shooting in Florida, claiming Casanova fired the weapon. Other witnesses connected him to drug deals and robberies, corroborating the government's narrative. Their testimony showed his involvement was deep and ongoing, even at the height of his music career. Faced with this mountain of evidence and the prospect of a life sentence, Casanova and his legal team had to make a difficult choice. The testimony from former friends made a not guilty verdict seem increasingly unlikely. Fighting the charges carried enormous risk. If found guilty, the judge would have little discretion for lenient sentencing. The federal system is known for harsh mandatory minimums, especially for racketeering and firearm charges. The wall of evidence, built brick by brick with witness testimony, was closing in on him. Ultimately, on May 11, 2022, Casanova chose to avoid a trial. He pleaded guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, and conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. He admitted to his leadership role, a Manhattan robbery, and trafficking over 100 kilograms of marijuana. The fight was over. On June 27, 2023, the final chapter of Casanova's legal battle was written. A federal judge sentenced him to 188 months in prison, just over 15.5 years. The sentence was a heavy blow, confirming his days as a free man were over for the foreseeable future. He was no longer a rap star performing for adoring crowds, but a federal inmate, identified by a number. The glamour of his music career evaporated, replaced by the harsh reality of life in the federal prison system. He was transferred to a facility to begin serving his time, a world away from recording studios and concert stages. Life in prison is a stark contrast to the freedom and excess of celebrity lifestyle. The daily routine is rigid and controlled. Inmates are told when to wake up, when to eat, when to work, and when to sleep. Freedom of choice is almost entirely removed. From occasional public statements, a picture of his new life has emerged. He spends his time reading, working out, and reflecting on the choices that led him to this point. Prison is a place of intense boredom and introspection, where the past can feel more present than the future. For someone like Casanova, who lived a life of constant motion and excitement, the stillness and confinement must be profound punishment. Casanova has used limited means to communicate with the outside world through social media posts made by his management team. In these statements, he has expressed deep regret for his actions and warned young people not to follow his path. He has spoken about the pain of being separated from his family, especially his wife and children. These messages reveal a man grappling with consequences, trying to find redemption by preventing others from making the same mistakes. His experience serves as a cautionary tale. He is reported facing challenges inside prison, including altercations with other inmates. Every day is a struggle for survival, just in a different kind of jungle. His life now is a cycle of waiting for mail, waiting for visits, waiting for the distant day of his release. The man who once seemed to have it all is now living a life defined by what he has lost. If you want to know more about the true stories behind New York's most notorious gangs, hit that subscribe button, because in the world of true crime, the truth is never simple, and it's never safe.